Yeah, I'm Carolyn Schwartz. Where I'm from is kind of a difficult question. I was born in Hawaii, and I currently live in Texas. I just moved here because my spouse is in the military. But I did spend most of my time growing up in Chicago because my dad was stationed there with the Navy. Um, and it really kind of forms a connection with this class because gangs were very rampant out there, and you had to be aware of your location and your surroundings. I am a social science major. I'm actually a double minor in family conflict resolution as well as conflict analysis and trauma studies. As far as my favorite snack, I'll have to see if coffee counts because I think that being a parent, full-time student, and a military spouse kind of justifies it to be its own food group at this point. Um, my favorite study tip. Now, this is my second degree. My first degree is an associate's in science. And so this one's my second, and I've been in school for longer than I'd like to admit. Um, so I do agree with you, setting time aside for studying is really important, but I also find that having a dedicated space for studying and working is really important. I'm lucky enough to actually have my own office for this. And I find that it really helps keep me focused. I can just close the door if I need to. As far as my favorite movie, I'm not really a movie person. I married a movie person, but I'm not a movie person. I'm really into reading. I think that watching movies sometimes requires a longer attention span than I normally have. Whereas if I read a book, I can just set it down and come back to it. But if you ever need a good book recommendation, I'm here. My favorite book currently that I've read a few times is called Musicophilia, and it actually discusses the connection of music in the brain, all the way from like therapeutic psychology, all the way to seizure-inducing epilepsy from different musical tones and beats. If there was a class that I could make K-State have, I would do a class solely on the subject of self-care. And honestly, I wish it would be mandatory for all helping professions, teaching, criminal justice, social sciences, psychology, anything of that sort. Because as a social science major, I don't really think geology is too applicable to my line of work. And it's something that as students and professionals, we're told all the time that we should practice it. But without a lot of guidance or direction, it can be really difficult. And the more that we discuss the topic in depth, the more it can be normalized both in theory and in practice. So my goals for K-State is I have just one more semester left before I graduate. And I'm doing my best to graduate with honors, so fingers crossed this class goes well. I really try to give my classes the attention that they need and the effort that I can put forth. My other goal would be finally deciding on what schools to apply to for graduate school. I'm between a few, but they include K-State and Texas A&M. And one surprising thing about me is I do play a handful of instruments, and one of those is an Australian didgeridoo. For my first degree, I use all my electives in the music theory and composition program. So maybe it's not really that surprising as a fact, especially after I told you my favorite book. But I look forward to this class and working with everyone.